Hello?
Hello, this is Chris.
Yes, this is Chris. Hi.
Hi, this is Radio Ultra from Russia. Are you ready to start
Hello,
our
nice.
interview?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Are you okay speaking about sneaker pimps for 3 questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start then. How do you compare IAMX and sneaker pimps?
Well, IAMX is a much more private, solitary project, much more self-indulgent, much more, I guess you could say, a little bit more experimental. The main thing is that it's a single vision. It's my vision. It's about my life. It's about my opinions of the world, and it's also very much about my own production and sound. Sneaker Pimps is a collaboration, and obviously I have a big part in that, but I'm still limited by having to compromise with people. So IAMX is a very free, ultra creative project. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what's your plans for sneaker pimps?
We're trying to get something together to release pretty soon, hopefully in the new year. We've been writing together. We've got about, 15 songs maybe. Lots of good, exciting things happening with that. It's still quite early because we're not quite sure who's going to be singing what, who's going to be performing, who's going to be playing live. Even if we do play live. So there are so many questions, but the drive and the excitement and enthusiasm is back. So we're very happy about that.
And how did your life change since you're not just a participant of Sneaker Pimps, but also the head of your own project?
It became much harder in some ways, and also a bit of a relief in others. So really, from a practical point of view, I had to start again. I had to learn how to perform in a different way. I had to book my own shows. I had to manage myself in the beginning. And it became a very independent, very DIY, self-sufficient project, IAMX. So it's much more, it's more work, but it's more rewarding as well in a way, because you have, it's your vision and it's your fans, and I can be quite greedy with my emotions. So it's good. It's healthy for me psychologically. On the other hand, you don't have that sort of group feeling where you can rely on others or to take the pressure off, and it's a lot of pressure sometimes to do your own project, and particularly when you're doing everything, when you're producing everything, you're doing the whole technical side of things, but also the emotional side of the writing. So it's a complicated, hard project, but it's very rewarding, and particularly with the kind of fans that IAMX has. It's very different to any other project that I know of, where the fans are so intense, so loyal, and so conscientious. It's a very special thing.
Let's talk a bit about Russia. You're going to come to Moscow pretty soon, and what's your feelings about that? And what would you say to other fans that are truly waiting for you to come here?
It's become a very, very special place for us. Within the last couple of years, we've always, on and off, we've been to Russia, but only in the last 2 years, I think, has it really built some kind of momentum, and I see a change in the attention, and also in the understanding of the project, and that's really great. We absolutely love coming there now. The plans are incredibly emotional and intense and crazy. So we love the shows because the shows are very, very rewarding. It's almost like a religious experience. I'm not religious at all. I'm not into any of that, but it's the closest I would come to some kind of spiritual religious experience is being on stage in front of 1,000 Russians. It's good.
Okay, and your music in some way comes way before its time, in the sense that, for example, your videos are very technological and futuristic, your music too, and where do you get the inspiration for that? Where do you get it from, the whole thing?
I get it from inside. I think if you look too much at what's happening in the world and you're influenced by that and you try to copy things, it's never really going to be truly original. And I think at one point I started to understand that I didn't need to look at contemporary music anymore. I just needed to work alone and not really care about the rest of the world. And only then, I think, if you really express yourself and you're true to yourself, you will create something unusual and unique and hopefully timeless. Even though I do play with electronic music and technology, I'm still trying to make something that maybe people could listen to in 20 years and still think sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. And but still, is it you and only you, or maybe you have, I don't know, some consultants, friends that you share your ideas with, and they help you decide if they're good or not?
It's only me. The reason for that is because I'm a bit of a control freak in the studio, but I'm also quite self-conscious. So I'm too scared to share my ideas with people before they're finished. I don't like it because I feel like if I haven't completed something, then people misunderstand what I'm trying to say. So I have to finish it myself, and then I live or die by what I've completed. So I find it quite difficult to work with people. Even though I work in sneaker prints, that's a very different thing. But with IAMX, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. I get it, I do, but it's a very hard thing to live like that. Don't you find it?
I know. It is sometimes. It's very lonely. But I can't say why. It's just the nature of this project, and I've accepted that, and that's okay. It doesn't. For a while, I was very lonely, and I wanted to collaborate, and it was too much pressure and too much stress and all that kind of stuff. But now I understand that it's just part of it. I don't mind. I've made my peace with that.
Mm-hmm. IAMX is independent project. What do you think about contemporary independent scene of music, and why was it so important for you to be part of that?
Well, I don't think IAMX is a part of anything. I feel like it's its own niche. I've never tried to be cool or part of what's happening or be hyped or any of those kinds of things. It's not interesting to me. So I don't feel like it is. But if people put it in that scene, then that's fine. That's up to them. What is important to me is that it's independent because you have much more creative freedom. And if you're working with a big label, there are too many demands, too many rules, too much money going on, and I can't create like that. I can't live like that. And although it is more difficult and you make less money, it's being an artist is not all about money. It's about satisfying your inner beast, and through this project, through the DIY independent way, I do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you pay attention to new artists that come to this music scene? And if so, can you name a few of them that you like?
I like other things. I always find it interesting when people always ask me about music. And yes, I'm a musician, but I have a life, and I'm actually more interested in film or video making, or I understand why people ask me about music, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I often wonder why people don't ask artists or musicians about the rest of their lives. That's what interests me, and I would prefer to talk about that, actually.
Well, if we had an hour with you, we would talk about a lot of things.
Yes, that's true. Yes. I guess people just want to understand what I like. I like anything good. I don't really care what it is. If it's classical music, if it's hip hop, if it's R&B, if it's indie, I don't really care. It's difficult for me to name something that I'm into at the moment, because I often look to the past, and I like things to have time to grow, and then in 10, 20 years you can look back and say, okay, that was good, that was really good, and it still sounds good. So at the moment I'm listening to one of my favorites is David Sylvian. I'm a big fan of his. He was from the 80s, and he's actually still making really contemporary music.
Mm-hmm.
Like his album that's called Sleepwalkers. I also love Gary Newman, again from 20 years ago. So I'm not really listening to much music.
Okay. Okay, I think I have your quote. It goes like this: "Not taking yourself too seriously, that's the important thing." Is it your quote?
That is one of my quotes, I think. I mean, I say a lot of things, so I don't really know if I said that, but it is. I believe in that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think your art? Is it serious? Is it grotesque? How would you describe it?
Oh, grotesque. That's quite a good way to look at it. I think it is serious. And often, if you look at comedy, or comedy is actually quite tragic, because obviously the human condition is very flawed, and we're all depressed. We're all going to die. We don't like that idea, of course. So comedy helps us get through life, and there is a sad side to comedy that a tragic side to comedy that I find very interesting, and IAMX is a little bit like that. It's a little bit like the fucked up clown, where it is very serious, but it also has a theatrical, comedic edge. So if I get on stage, I like to play with people. It's to play with my costumes, or if I have a conversation with someone, I'm actually interested in talking in a very funny way. I like talking like that. I also like talking seriously, but it helps me get through life to be light and sometimes and heavy in others. The balance is essential.
Mm-hmm. And you shared that you had pretty hard times for a while, that you fought with depression, insomnia. And do you think that for creative types of people, it's important to feel those kinds of emotions, like very high highs and very low lows, so that in that way you can find inspiration?
It doesn't really work like that. I think what you'll find is that most people are already like that, and that's why they're creative. They don't do it to help their creativity. It's just they create to help their depression. It's the other way around. So it's the only way that it's one of the ways that you can live with the world, to understand the world, to feel okay in the world. It's to be creative. If you are prone to mental illness, many creative people, many artists are obviously not happy with the world because they write about that, and that's the way that you can vent, or you can feel better about it all. It's totally necessary. But the weird thing is, when I was really sick, when I was in the lowest of my low and the most difficult time for me, I was not creative at all, and I wasn't interested in art because the emotions of art are too intense sometimes, and I didn't want to make myself unbalanced. And you'll find that most creative people are actually more creative when they're in a good place. Even though they might be naturally depressive kind of people, you can only really create when you're feeling good.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to see it, I think.
I agree. But would you trade it? Would you agree to be a happy-go-lucky guy if it would mean you wouldn't be creative? All the time, happy all the time.
I don't think it's not possible even for people that aren't depressed. It's just happiness is a skill. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that you create. So if you are creative, if you are intelligent, you can actually maintain a balanced level of happiness all the time. You can choose it in a way, even though, that's controversial, but you can use it as a skill, and that's the important way to see it, I think, is it's not to imagine being someone else or imagine being happy all the time. It's work on the skill of happiness. But if I were to trade it, if I would, to be a kind of happy zombie for the rest of my life, maybe, because humans aspire to that. They want that. I want that too. My way of searching for that is through my art, yes, and through relationships and through love.
Mm-hmm. There's been a time in San Diego, at least once, that you brought fans to the stage. Do you still do that?
I have done it, and sometimes it's been a bit of a mistake because you can't really guess how intense those people are, and sometimes it gets a bit too much. But so I stopped doing it. But recently, people just choose to come up, and they just jump up and think that it's okay. So it's really, I don't stop it if it happens, but I don't initiate it anymore, because it can get pretty intense at that.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you think, sometimes you sing using 2 microphones at once. Why do you do that?
Yes. It's a special effect that I have. So on one microphone I have a kind of dry main vocal effect. On the second one, it's a production technique basically. On the second one I have things like reverbs and delays and special weird pitch effects that add to the main vocal. So if I want to change my voice, I'll go to the second microphone. And it's in some songs it's really good if I, in the verse, then I'll sing in the dry microphone, the normal microphone, and then the chorus I'll sing in the second microphone, so it sounds bigger or wider. Or it's a production technique.
Mm-hmm. And our listeners of our radio station are pretty familiar with you, and they know a lot about you, but they don't know much about the guys that perform with you on stage. Could you tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, totally. There's 3 other people on stage. We have a live drummer called John Siren, who's an excellent drummer, and he's very devoted to the project and a very, very good man. Strong, solid double bass drum technique, and quite experimental with his rhythms. That's really excellent because that complements the electronic music very well. And then we have Samidol on my right, who is mainly keyboards and backing vocals. Again, very devoted, very lovely person. They're both Americans, those two. And then on my left, we have the amazing Janine Kazan, who's been with me for many years in the project, and she plays keyboards and bass guitar and backing vocals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
She's German, yeah.
And you've moved from Berlin to Los Angeles, and how do you think it changed anything for you in the art sort of way, and how do you feel there, and is there plans to move somewhere else?
Well, LA was an antidote to Berlin, basically. I lived in Berlin for about 6 years, and at the end of that, when I became pretty depressed and sick, it wasn't a healthy place for me to be. It was very cold and dark in the winters, and I didn't really have many friends there, and I was working too hard. So the combination of things was bad for me. So I decided to go to Los Angeles, and I had some friends there. I could work in the industry there, and obviously the weather is incredible. It's made me much more stable, and much happier actually. I really like being here. It's also very close to the desert, and I'm very inspired by the desert. I have a small cabin in the desert where I wrote Metanoia, the last album, and it's a beautiful, alien, silent, incredible place. So
Love for desert. I'm sorry. Love for desert is sort of unusual. Usually people say woods or ocean, but I don't think I've ever heard desert.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know, it's such a special place. I can only describe it like it's very alien, and particularly if you're a European like me, it's like a totally different planet, and I love to be there. And it's not only the landscape, but there are very strange, crazy people out there. It's very cheap to live, so you get a lot of artists and freaks, and you also get a lot of white trash. So there's a really bizarre mixture of people, and that is also quite interesting. And yeah, I just love it.
Mm-hmm. Please tell me a little bit about the recording process of your latest album, Metanoia, and what's the main difference from your previous work? The last two albums before Metanoia, I was trying to collaborate a bit more, to be a bit more experimental with organic instruments. I mean, adding more instruments like guitars and piano, and I was playing lots of different things and doing much more recording in bigger studios and live recordings and things like that. But that was too much in the end. I became, again, after I was sick, I stopped making music for 2 years. I didn't really make anything. I couldn't create. It felt too much for me to be creative. So when I slowly got back into the rhythm of making music again, and I was happier and recovering, that's when Metanoia came about, and I decided to go back to the roots of IAMX, which is basically just one computer, one man, one microphone in one room, and it became again my totally solo project, and the recording process was very simple. It was all in the box in one computer with one microphone, and it was all electronic. So it was a much easier, simple process for me this time. So I focused much more on the lyrics, on the concepts, and on the vocal performance. Mm-hmm. And do you have any idols? I understand that you're not kind of person to have an idol in a conventional way, but someone maybe that you look at them and think, oh God, that person is cool. I hope I'll be something like that, but in my own way.
Yeah, I mean, I do have people like that. I have. There are filmmakers that I absolutely adore. I love Fellini. I love Ingmar Bergman. I love Tarkovsky. I love Andrei Tarkovsky. I think he's incredible. And he's a good example of a very technical but also emotionally spiritual filmmaker that is timeless and incredibly inspiring. Musically, again, I like people that really show themselves and aren't afraid to show who they are. Again, I'll mention Gary Newman again. I think he's a great example of somebody that's still doing very relevant contemporary electronic music, and he's much older. I could go on. Writers, I love Christopher Hitchens. I think he's an excellent writer. He's dead now, of course, but he was a very inspiring writer. I liked.
Okay, that's a great company. So we are internet station. So the next question is very important for us. What do you think about the role of the internet for the music industry, and what do you think about illegal downloads?
I've changed my opinion over the years, but generally it's you can't fight you can't fight progress. You can't fight what people want. So I think it's in the end it comes back to the artist or the musician to focus on creating something special and finding ways to present it or to sell themselves, even to sell themselves in a different way, and to create your own niche, to appeal to your fans, to have a closer relationship with them. And I think that if you do have that, then you don't have to worry so much about selling records, because they will support you in any way that they can. If you don't engage with your fans, if you don't give them something special, if you don't mean it, if you aren't truthful in your music, then people will probably just steal your music because they feel entitled to it. I get the feeling that the internet is a great place, and it's been great for me because it's a great place where I could connect with my fans without a record label involved. I could go straight to them, talk to them, and have them understand me, and also create my own world. If you're intelligent enough, if you're driven enough, I think you can survive very well using the internet as an artist. But you have to be quite practical and realistic about it, and don't cry about the fact that people steal the music. I know it's not nice, but find a different way. That's what you have to do.
We're almost done. Just a few more questions. How do you spend your free time? Do you have a hobby?
Yes, I do. I love cameras. I'm very into photography and videography, video making. I guess that's my other love, my other hobby. I mean, maybe photography is a hobby because I don't do it professionally. Videography, I make my own videos, so it's not really a hobby. So I'm really into technology and cameras and things like that. I have a dog. I love my dog. She's beautiful. She calms me down. Otherwise, I don't really have that much free time. I'm constantly playing live or making IAMX music.
Mm-hmm. And can we record an ID for a station? Could you please say, hello, my name is Chris Corner from IAMX, and you're listening to Radio Ultra Online.
Ultra Online. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Hi, this is Chris from IAMX. You're listening to Radio Ultra Online.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And can you record some sort of message for the fans that gonna come to your concert?
Yeah. Hello, this is Chris from IAMX. I'm calling out to all my beautiful, loving, supportive Russian fans. Come to the shows, and we will perform for you and show you our love.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is it. It's been truly a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. That was very nice.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.